Welcome to this week's edition of the Pigskin Prognosticator. Words from the great Pigskin Prognosticator of PubClub.com. Here, giving you the YouTube video version of it. This is modeled after a longtime picker in the South. His name was Leonard Postosis. He did Leonard's Losers. So let's get on with what's happening this week. Week 3 in college football. Okay, the prognosticator has had to double check to be sure he has not put a Rip Van Winkle and slept through September and October into November. For this weekend, there are 2 West Coast rivalry games, the Civil War and the Apple Cup. Hey, the next thing I know, Nick Saban won't even be the Alabama coach. But upon further review, this is simply college football today, in which Oregon and Oregon State and Washington State are not even in the same league. Saban has given way to, well, the Washington coach. Players transfer at the drop of the NIL. And Texas is looking like a legitimate team instead of one that's looking for another Vince Young moment. But it is reassuring to know that some things remain unchanged. Notre Dame still teases its fans with a pot of gold and rainbows while actually only possessing fool's gold. There's overconfidence in Miami and panic on the plains. USC has a quarterback and Texas A&M does not. There are dog days in Athens and heavy sighs of relief in State College. Now on to this week's games. All times listed are on the West Coast because the prognosticator lives on the West Coast. Alabama at Wisconsin, 9 a.m. on Fox. Kalen DeBoer got a quick first lesson on what it is to be the head coach at Alabama last week, and that is to never take a team lightly. He learned that beat Bama is more than a button on a fan's shirt. It's something that opponents put into making reality every week. And that's certainly going to be the case when the Tide rolls into Camp Randall into a sea of jumping fans. The Pachyderms have the talent to make them use their seats much of the time, but we need the big boys to step up on the line rather than getting experience for others in order to send those Wisconsin fans to the Icing House early for those boots of beer. Winner, Alabama. Oregon at Oregon State, 12:30 p.m. on Fox. Things haven't been too civil in Eugene this year, as super high expectations almost turned foul against Boise State. And now the Quackers go south, about an hour down I-5, to defend their state pride in the Civil War, a game normally reserved for the nerves of November. For some teams, Eugene is often where championship aspirations go to die, particularly USC. But the Bees are breaking in a new coach, as well as a new quarterback, and haven't built a strong enough dam just yet to doom the Ducks. Winner, Oregon. Washington State at Washington. Peacock Network. This is what a team gets after making the national championship last year. It's rivalry game on Peacock. That's like giving a lighter when the other guy gets a car. The Cellgators are upset at a lack of respect for the program, but it's hard to get it when you're tucked away in the isolated Pacific Northwest and open the season playing the likes of the Charcoal Grills, Weber State, and Burst from a directional school, Western Michigan. Okay, if this is where these dogs of society howl, then let's hear you loud and clear. Winner, Washington. Texas A&M at Florida. To be honest, the prognosticator went back and forth on this one. Then when Billy Napier named the starting quarterback, it became a lot more clear. The wounded cadets stagger into the swamp, the tough-to-penetrate defensive line, and a okay boys, just hold them offense. Their survival may depend on how stubborn the Florida coach, already in the gator jaws of the ever-impatient Florida fans, is with his quarterback. His pregame decision has those fans ready to chomp down on him. If the visiting soldiers can do the same, then it's going to be a very hot seat in Gainesville. Winner, Texas A&M. Notre Dame at Purdue, 12:30 on CBS. With a pot of gold out of reach and a fading rainbow, the Leprechauns hope the whiskey shots in a beer glass are not medallions that can turn them into stone. The hosts certainly won't be drunk on their success. They were 4-7 last year and didn't play last week, though the fans certainly load up before the games. The luck of the Irish will prevail here, in part because Purdue has a long history of taking big-name teams to the brink, only to blink at the end. Winner, Notre Dame. Georgia at Kentucky, 4:30 on ABC. If it is possible in college football for a team to finish with negative points, That's what might happen to these less than Wildcats, based on last year's result, in which they had almost as many penalties as they did completions. And that was against South Carolina, not a bunch of salivating canines. Long before this one over, the Georgia transfer quarterback will be wishing he was back in those silver britches. Winner, Georgia. Indiana at UCLA, 4:30 p.m. on NBC. The Powder Blue patrons in the Rose Bowl hope they don't get the familiar BBS, that's the battered Bruin syndrome, with the first game as a member of the Big Ten. There I almost said it. An squeaker in the opener against Hawaii, and an off week last weekend has caused some cautionary winds to be blowing around the program. For the Red Cloud visitors, were Lee Corso still coaching the team, he would have been able to fulfill one of his goals, that is of leading Indiana into the Rose Bowl. Of course, this is the stadium, not the game. Winner, UCLA. You can read this on PubClub.com under the sports section, the Pigskin Prognosticator for week 3. Thanks for tuning in.